10:03 is the time on the Big 550 KTRS. John Grayson coming to you live from Tantera Resort as the Missouri School Board Association and the Missouri Association of School Administrators are holding their conference, and I have beside me Dennis Young, the president and CEO of ITNR, who are the founders of Issues in Education. Dennis, how are you?
Yeah, just fine. Nice to have you.
It's a beautiful day here, and John Carney was kind enough to rack himself up once again, so we have the opportunity to do some talking here, and we have some wonderful guests joining us for this first segment of our show, which will be going on for the next couple of hours here on 550 KTRS. Jan Meese is with us. She's the president of the Missouri School Boards Association and a member of the Columbia Board of Education. Melissa Randall is executive director of Missouri School Boards Association, and Brent Gann is deputy executive director of the Missouri School Boards Association. Welcome, all of you.
Thank you.
Glad to be with you.
Morning.
Thanks.
Good to see all of your smiling faces. And Melissa, I'd like to start with you. Tell us a little bit about the Missouri School Boards Association and its role in supporting schools throughout the state.
Well, I'm happy to do that, but let me start with talking about school boards and who
Sure.
they are. In Missouri, school board members are elected officials and they're unpaid. And so when they put their name on the ballot, you know, their sole focus is to support children and to develop a future for our children that benefits our communities and our state. And so, you know, we hear about a lot of divisiveness throughout our country, and I think there's a lot of values that we have in common, and one of them is public education. And that is a shared value we have in our state and certainly throughout our country, and school board members reflect that shared value. You know, when they give their time freely and willingly to make sure that our communities and our state and our country have a bright future.
Excellent. And as we move on to Brent, tell us about the MSBA conference that's going on right now and what the members and superintendents get from an event like we're seeing all around us.
Right, John. This is the largest gathering of education leaders in the state of Missouri every year, and it involves school board members from school districts all across Missouri and superintendents as well. And, of course, here in Missouri, we have every type of school district you can imagine, from the major urban areas to suburban school districts to very tiny school districts in rural areas of our state, and they're all represented here at our conference. So we really provide an opportunity for all these diverse school board members to come together and talk about school issues. And, you know, school boards, they require their teachers and their administrators to be engaged in professional development and always staying on top of issues and improving their skills. And so board members can really set a great example by improving their own skills as leaders by coming to an event like this and participating in all the various workshops that we have. We have about 136 concurrent sessions, most of which are presented by other school districts. So school districts have the opportunity to share with one another the good things that are going on, innovative programs, and concerns and difficult issues that they're facing. And I think our members tell us time and time again when they go home, they're able to take back ideas that they can apply to their own local school districts.
And Jen, let's talk a little bit about where the school boards fit into this puzzle. What exactly do the school boards do, both for their districts and for the parents and students?
School boards, you know, we are all elected to school boards because we have one goal in common, and that is to help our students succeed. And in many communities, schools are the heart of those communities, sometimes the largest employer. And when you become a member of a school board, you are actually representing your whole community, and you are choosing someone to lead your school district. You choose the superintendent. School boards don't manage what goes on in a district. We hire a superintendent and we set policies and budget. But this is so important because we represent the voice of our own personal communities and the needs and wants. There is no school board that runs a meeting the same, that has the same agenda items, and we are focused in on helping public education in our community and therefore up farther the ladder with the state.
There's an issue that has become a hot button all across the country and certainly across the state of Missouri. When we start talking about school choice, it has tremendous support from the public, but I think the level of knowledge could use a little beefing up. So, Melissa, let's talk about school choice. In terms of defining terms, what do we mean?
Well, that's a great question. You know, the current dialogue right now on school choice tends to focus on things like private school vouchers or charter schools or you can go, there's a wide variety of different things that are being debated and discussed. But really that discussion misses the point. There is far more choice in our public schools that's being offered than in any other setting. For instance, in public schools, over 70% of our public schools offer advanced placement courses. In private schools or in other settings, less than 50% of those schools are able to offer those kinds of things. And there's a number of other examples. Honors courses, we offer far more things. We offer career and tech ed opportunities. Many students are able to graduate with a associate's degree from but when they're getting their high school diploma, they're also getting an associate's degree diploma. And so I think the debate has really been skewed to another area that doesn't reflect what's going on in public schools. And we need to be able to talk and celebrate what's going on every day in every public school across Missouri.
Well, what I see in all the schools are the kids are getting there early in the morning for courses. They're staying after school for courses. And by the time they get to the degree, my gosh, they've gotten at least the first year of college out of the way.
It's amazing what is available. Yeah. And just to follow up with Melissa, our schools, there are no cookie-cutter schools in the state of Missouri. Everybody has an individual type program geared to the needs of their students and their communities. In our district, we have 2 magnet schools for performing arts and STEAM education, and we are hoping to open a STEAM middle school. We have Innovation School in Melville. I know Epic Elementary in Liberty is doing problem-based learning, totally taking the usual ways of delivering education and making it more relevant to the current century that we're living in. And we just have a multitude of things going on that are numerous and rich.
I'd just like to point out we have a student showcase going on right now, don't we, Jan?
It's
around
amazing.
These very halls, and we have 15 districts from all around the state, all different kinds of sizes of districts and ages as well of students here showing off the great programs. We have a robotics program going on just right beside us today, elementary school kids programming robots to perform various tasks, and the list goes on and on and on. So.
Yes, it's evolved past coloring books.
It's evolved past coloring books, without a doubt.
Well, Brent, let's pick up on that a little bit and talk about what happens before and after school. As Dennis was saying, you see kids that are not only involved in the curriculum, but they're also involved in extracurricular activities. So how does choice work into that?
Well, it's definitely a factor in that, I think, John. And as Dennis was saying, so many kids, the actual official school day is only part of what they do. You know,
sure.
They're in there early in the morning for band practice or for other activities. They stay after school for activities. And, you know, in the past, I think we've viewed extracurricular activities maybe mainly through the lens of sports. And that's certainly still important in our schools. But there's so many other things going on now in terms of extracurricular activities, whether it's arts or other technical education, that sort of thing. One of the things that we've been doing at MSBA is traveling around the state and highlighting these innovative stories, and some of them are extracurricular activities, and doing a video series on that. And just recently we had the chance to visit Festus High School. And at Festus High School, kids are the world champion rocket team. And you talk about an example of a great extracurricular activity.
We met them.
Yeah.
They came in on the show. They are an incredible bunch of kids.
They are incredible, and, you know, they apply what they learn in science and other areas as well, and they build these model rockets. They went to Washington, D.C. last year, won the national competition, and then went on to the international competition in Paris against many other countries and won first place there. I mean, you know, we have the world champion rocket team from Missouri, from Festus High School. It's really quite amazing. But that's just one example of an extracurricular activity, and what a payoff for those kids. You know,
right.
They're way ahead in terms of their science education, whatever they do, going on to higher ed or whatever.
Elon Musk at SpaceX might be looking
exactly
for
right.
the next group
That's right.
to go to Mars.
And Dennis, you know, one of the great things about that team is that they they crossed all of the grades in high school. They were freshmen and seniors and everybody in between on that team.
Absolutely.
Just tremendous work. And well, just to follow up on that for a second, Brent, because you talked about sports in there as well. Does school choice affect some of the boundaries that exist between districts where kids can go from one school to another in terms of the sports teams that they can be on?
Well, that has been an issue. Absolutely.
TBA.
Right.
Yeah.
That's being discussed, and can be a controversial issue, because our public schools do offer sports programs, and to what extent do kids who may not be in the public school system, whether they be homeschooled or private schooled, have access to those activities? That is an issue that is being debated right now, as far as that. But I think the important thing to remember is these kids that have alternative education programs, they're wanting access to those things that are being offered by the public schools, and so it remains to be seen how that issue will shake out.
We'll be watching closely. And Jan, you mentioned STEAM education, and that has been such a boon. And I mean, it's given us things like that Festus rocketry team. But let's talk about technical education as well, because throughout the state of Missouri, there are some tremendous technical colleges.
Yes.
Where are they being fed from in the public school system?
Well, there are 54 career centers throughout the state for high school students, and career and technical education used to have maybe not as positive a connotation as it does now. Everybody thought you send your kids to school, they're going to go to college. College is not for every student, and so there is more and more emphasis on career and technical education, and it is also part of our state accountability system, CTE. So this is a growing trend, and we all know that not all of us can be college professors, have basic needs. And when you look at these student showcases, that I bet most of them are technology based, and so you really are needing to get the kids from the ground up. I know my granddaughter's in kindergarten. She's better at the iPad than I am. So career and tech is being infused in career centers, but it's also woven into the context of everyday learning. So students are getting a look at it without even realizing it, and that may branch them off into another career that they wouldn't have imagined.
Well, some of those jobs are just very high-paying jobs.
Right.
And when you look at the kids in high school that are taking these courses, the electronics is just fabulous what they're learning.
It is.
Exactly right.
And when you look at what employers are demanding today and those jobs that are available, that's where the jobs are going to be, for the future, those technical jobs. And as Jan was saying, college may not be for everybody, but probably some sort of additional education beyond high school is important, whether it's technical ed or something like that. But those, like you said, Dennis, those are great jobs, and they're available jobs.
And what's interesting about that, there is a path on to college.
Absolutely.
You go to SEMO and the Polytech Center, and you get all that training. It's just a fabulous program.
You could never have too much education, no matter in what level you do it.
Right.
As a volunteer or in a classroom, you've got to expand your horizons.
Yeah, right. And those little kids that you were talking about in the robotics programs already, at a very, very young age, they're going to have to work with the kids who are doing the engineering. I mean, they've all got to talk to each other later on, so if they're all speaking the same language, we're ahead of the game. Right. And Brent, let's talk a little bit about the physicality itself of school choice, because there are systems in which you can go from one school to another. You can move buildings. So what are the challenges and the advantages involved in that part of school choice?
Right. I think a lot of people don't realize that there are, in some school districts in Missouri, there's the opportunity for kids to transfer and have some choice among the school buildings that exist. Now, that's typically among our larger districts that have multiple buildings. Now, we have many school districts around the state. In fact, the vast majority probably that might only have one high school or one middle school, one elementary. But some other districts do have the multiple buildings. And we're seeing that more and more, where our public school districts are providing policies that would allow students under certain circumstances, and space availability is always an issue and that sort of thing. But if it's important for a child to move from one building to another, that is being, I think, permitted more than it used to be. And I don't think people realize that sort of choice is available in more districts than we might think.
Well, Melissa, with space availability being a problem, will there be a time, because education is about futurism as well, where there will be kids who won't go to a building, where they'll go to a virtual classroom?
Well, I think technology is changing a lot of things, not just public education. Every sector has been touched by it and transformed by it. But there's so much value in having that human contact, that public education offers, and there's skills that you learn with having that. Having said that, technology does allow us to do a better job of customizing education for children. With the integration of technology, quality technology, and we can connect great teachers with schools or students in schools that don't have access maybe to a physics teacher. In rural communities, it's hard to find an Algebra 3 or a Calculus 2 teacher or something like that. But with technology, we can connect those students and those teachers together. And there's many other examples. Our focus has been on meeting the needs of each child, and technology allows us to do that with proficiency-based learning, and there's lots of other terms we could use, but the real issue it boils down to looking at each child, determining what they need to be successful in life, in a career, whether it's through a career tech program or through college, but we will look at that child and we will build an education system and a plan for them, and much of that is because technology is allowing us to do that.
Right, you can augment the reality.
Yeah. I was just going to add, John, on that issue. One of the issues with virtual education is to ensure quality. And there is some research out there showing that there are some virtual education programs being offered by some that aren't the highest quality. There are certainly some that are highest quality, but that is really where the role of the school board can come in to ensure that the course offerings that were being provided to our kids are high quality, that fit into the existing curriculum of the school district, because it's kind of it's a little bit of the wild, wild west out there right now with virtual education.
Right.
So there are some that aren't the highest quality. So that's what we need to ensure, that we want to provide those options to kids, but they need to be high quality.
And keep those lines of communication open. Well, believe it or not, our time for this segment is over.
Wow.
So Jan Meese, president of the Missouri School Boards Association and member of the Columbia Board of Education, Melissa Randall, executive director of the Missouri School Boards Association, and Brent Gann, deputy executive director of the Missouri School Boards Association. Thank you again, all of you, for being here on Issues in Education.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you
for letting us talk about public education.
Absolutely. There's plenty more to come from Tantera. John Grayson here with Dennis Young, the president and CEO of Itmer Architects, as Issues in Education continues on the Big 550 KTRS.